Good evening, everyone. I am Sir J, Teacher JM, and I'll be your instructor for your chemistry sets review. All right. So I'm also looking at the chat dun sa ating Facebook group. So again, if you are watching this from the main page of Keep Up Learning, I do suggest na pumasok din kayo dun sa ating Facebook group wherein makukumpleto nyo itong live stream na ito and makakapag-interact kayo with your other review mates, kumbaga, no? So, good evening everyone. And siguro if just a quick survey lang, no. Ano yung kasi lagi ko naririnig yan from students na pass na lang sa chem, ayo sa chem, nahirapan sila sa chem, and I understand that it's one of the more challenging fields of science. So siguro I just want to get the feel for the room. Ano yung pinaka-challenging na topic sa chem para sa inyo? So siguro I'll give you like a few minutes. Comment nyo lang ano yung pinaka-challenging na topic sa chem na siguro nahirapan kayo or you get nako-confuse kayo. I would like to see kung ano ba yung pinaka-nahihirapan kayo, no? So meron dito redox. Ayan. Yes, medyo confusing din talaga ang redox. Ano ba yung mga iba nyong hindi nyo kinahihiligan? Right? Stoichiometry. Well, favorite ko yung stoic as an analytical chemist. Pero okay lang yan. I understand. Ano pa ba? So, mostly stoic, no? Chemical balancing, medyo nakakalito. Yes, right? I understand, right? Well, under stoic din naman ng chemical balancing. So, definitely, I think I prepared a few items din on stoichiometry din talaga, no? So, sige, di na natin patatagalin. Let's go now directly to our first question. And so, from what I understand, you know, since multiple choice questions ito, if you know the answer, i-comment nyo lang yung sagot. And I'm looking at the chat then I'll see kung sino yung mga nagkakaroon ng tamang sagot. If you want to explain further, go ahead. But I myself will explain the best I can kung paano ba sinasagot yung mga tanong na prepare natin. Alright? So, sige. Start na tayo. Ano ba ang ating? Yun. Okay. So, game. Right? For our first question, which state of matter exhibits both definite volume and indefinite shape? Again, which state of matter exhibits both definite volume and indefinite shape? A, solid. B, liquid. C, gas. D, plasma. Yan, pampagana muna. Okay. Which state of matter exhibits both definite volume and indefinite shape? Yan. Bilis ang mga sagot ng mga tao. Right? Although one letter ang mas nananaig, I see a lot of you are answering B, and that is actually correct. Right? It is liquid. Right? So, i-clarify lang natin. Pag sabi natin definite volume, na may measure natin yung amount of space that it occupies. Right? Pero, hindi definite ang kanyang shape. Wala naman kayong makikitang liquid na circular or triangle or square, no? So, when we say definite, like kaya nating i-measure, kaya nating ma-observe fully. Whereas for liquids, hindi definite ang kanilang shape because they take the shape of their container. Right? Si solid, definite volume, definite shape din. Si gas, indefinite yung shape at to one extent, minsan nagbabago din ang volume from what we learn sa ating real gases. Right? So depending on the condition, pwede magbago ang volume din ni gas. So hindi rin siya definite volume. And then plasma is highly energized gas. So kung ano yung gas, mas makulit pa yung plasma. Right? So any questions? Any clarifications? Comment nyo lang dyan. I'll try to attend to some of your questions. Pero forgive me if hindi ko mapapansin yung question nyo. I'll do my best. No? Medyo marami tayong screens ngayon. Right? So let's go to our second question. Yan. More conceptual questions. The charge and mass of an electron were determined by which experiment? Again, the charge and mass of an electron were determined by which experiment? A. Rutherford's gold foil experiment. B. Millikan's oil drop experiment. C. Thomson's cathode ray tube experiment. Or D. Dalton's atomic theory. Yan. So medyo conceptual tayo. History of the atom. Yan. Is it si Rutherford, si Millikan, si Thomson, si Dalton? Mixed bag of answers. Iba-iba ang ating nakikita. Right? Right? So, may mga nagsabi ng A, D, B. Uy, may isang nag-C. Ako, walang sasagot ng C. Alright? But, right? Our correct answer is B. Millikan's oil drop experiment. Alright? Isa-isayin natin. Ano ba yung mga na-discover or ano yung mga natutunan natin from the other experiments? First, si Rutherford, alright? Through his gold foil experiment, he was able to observe or he was able to theorize correctly na merong center of mass ang mga atom. At yun yung tinawag niyang nucleus. So after actually ng gold foil experiment, he was able to prove that there is an existing nucleus in every atom. Right? Kung nasaan, nandun yung pinaka concentration ng mass ng isang atom. Right? Si Thomson naman, sa kanyang cathode ray tube experiment, which actually happened earlier than Rutherford's experiment, ang na-discover niya ay yung existence ng mga negatively charged particles. Right? So, yung negatively charged particles, hindi pa niya tinawag na electrons yun actually. Ang tawag niya pa doon ay corpuscles or corpuscles. Right? Which later on became your electrons, right? In terms of name. So, si Thomson, ang na-discover niya lang that they exist. Right? Whereas si Millikan, sa kanyang oil drop experiment, he was able to determine the charge and the mass of the electron. Right? So, kaya B yung ating tamang sagot. Dalton's atomic theory, he was only able to theorize na everything is made up of atoms. Right? So, yun lang yung gist ng atomic theory, that everything is made up of atoms, na ang bawat element ay made up of a specific type of atom, and that these elements can form into compounds and so on. Right? So, in terms of chronological order, with regards to the history of the atomic model, nagsimula lahat yan kay Dalton sa kanyang atomic theory, basically saying na everything is made up of atoms. Next, si Thomson, right, through his cathode ray tube experiment, he was able to prove the existence of electrons, right? Then next was Rutherford's gold foil experiment, wherein he introduced the idea of a nucleus, right, which leads to the nuclear model. And then after ni Rutherford, we have Niels Bohr, right? Kung naalala nyo, si Niels Bohr naman ang nag-theorize ng orbital model or ng solar system model of the atom. And then eventually, with the discovery of quantum mechanics, nabuo yung ating tinatawag na electron cloud model, right? Which is the one that we use today. Yan. So, yun yung pagkakasunod-sunod. Si Millikan, somewhere in between Rutherford and Niels Bohr yan. Right? Yan. So, Millikan's oil drop experiment. Right? So, thank you by the way sa mga participation nyo. Really appreciate it. Right? Next, we go to our third question. Right? Ito, medyo may computation na to. Slide. Char. Right? Question number 3. Which of the following species contain equal numbers of neutrons in their nuclei? Again, which of the following species contain equal numbers of neutrons in their nuclei? Right? Cobalt 58 and nickel 58, cobalt 58 and nickel 59, cobalt 59 and nickel 58, or cobalt 58 and cobalt 59. Medyo magko-compute kayo ng konti dito. Right? See a lot of A's. Isang nag-B. Mostly A's. Interesting. Sige lang. Bigyan natin ng chance yung ibang mga sagot. Hindi ba B? Right? Puro A or B lang ang mga sagot, ha? Interesting. Okay. The correct answer, right? Or at least, ang pagkakalam ko, right? Correct answer nito ay C. Ala, bakit C? Sir, bakit C? Akala ba, sir, 258 ito? Di ba equal number of neutrons? Okay. Explain natin. Oftentimes, by the way, this is a question about isotopes. Right? So, if you're wondering anong sang topic to nag-fall, this is under isotopes. Right? We go back to the explanation of your isotopes. Isotopes, right, are two atoms, right, that have, two atoms that are of the same element but different numbers of masses, right? So, throughout the study of isotopes, you'll also understand na nag-iiba ang mass ng mga atoms because of the difference in their mass number, right? Specifically, the difference in their number of neutrons, right? So, pag nakakita kayo ng ganitong way na pagsulat ng elements, na cobalt 58 or carbon 12, carbon 14, that number, yung 58, yung 59, yung 12, yung 14, that represents your mass number. The mass number is equal to the number of protons and the number of neutrons together. Right? So the number of protons and the number of neutrons together, when you add them, they become your mass number. At yun yung number na nakalagay katabi ng element in this notation. Right? So pag sinabi natin cobalt 58, that is a cobalt atom that has 58 particles that are both na combined na yon na protons and neutrons. Right? Now, paano natin malalaman yung number ng protons or neutrons kung hindi natin alam kung hindi siya nakalagay, for example, right? This is where we have to refer to our periodic table, right? Now, periodic table, under the periodic table, si cobalt, ang kanyang atomic number ay 27. Right? So keep that in mind. Cobalt, atomic number is 27. And then si nickel naman, ang kanyang atomic number ay 28. Right? So kung may periodic table kayo, if you're able to Google a photo of the periodic table, you'll know that cobalt is 27 sa kanyang atomic number, and then si nickel ay 28. What the atomic number signifies is the number of protons. So, pag sinabi natin na si cobalt ay may atomic number na 27, meron siyang 27 protons. Ano ngayon kung may 27 protons siya? Alam natin na ang isotope na to ay 58 ang kanyang mass number. So, 58 minus 27, that is 31. May math ko, 31. That is the number of neutrons. Doon pa lang natin malalaman na yun yung number of neutrons. Right? So, tingnan natin, bakit yung A, hindi siya yung tamang sagot? Cobalt has 27 protons and a mass number of 58. So, 58 minus 27, that is 31. Which means na itong cobalt 58 na to may 31 neutrons. Si nickel naman, ang kanyang atomic number ay 28. So, 58 minus 28, that is 30 neutrons. Hindi tugma. Right? Same goes for cobalt 58 and nickel 59, yung choice letter B. Again, cobalt 58 has 27 protons and 31 neutrons. Bakit 31? Kasi 58 minus 27. Si nickel naman, it has 28 protons, right? Yeah, 28 protons and 28 protons, and 59 minus 28, that is 31. Wait, hold on. 28 minus 51. Right? So 59 minus 28. And then, okay. Parang may typo pala ako dito, no? Ngayon ko lang na-realize. 59 minus 27. 59 minus 27. Sorry, wait lang. Naglag yung math ko. 59 minus 27, 32. And then 58 minus 28, 30. Okay. So may typo nga ako. Right? So, mali yung nailagay ko pala dito. Sorry, my bad. I need to correct myself. The answer is B, not C. Right? Again, the correct answer here is B, not C. Right? Bakit B? Cobalt 58. Cobalt has an atomic number of 27. So 58 minus 27, that's 31. Nickel has an atomic number of 28. So 59 minus 28 is 31. They have the same number of neutrons. Yan. So same number of neutrons. Okay? Sorry, medyo naglag lang ako doon. But the correct answer here is B. Again, for those who are watching, B po ang tamang sagot. 58 minus 27, right? That is your number of neutrons for cobalt. And then 59 minus 28, that is your number of neutrons for nickel in choice letter B. So B ang tamang sagot. See here, ang mangyayari yan, 59 minus 27, that is 32. Tapos nickel naman, 58 minus 28, that's 30. Hindi siya tugma. And then D is wrong because both are cobalt. Right? Meaning na pareho sila ng number ng protons, pero magkaibang mass number nila and therefore magkaiba ang neutrons nila by default. Right? Whew! Sorry. Ngarag nga agad, no? Aga pa lang. Pero yes, again, the correct answer is B. Right? So, I just need to reiterate that in case you just started watching this. Right? The answer here is B, not C. Nagets po ba? Medyo nagets ba? Medyo nagets? Right? So again, just definition of terms. When we say mass number is protons plus neutrons. When we say atomic number, it's just protons. So to get the number of neutrons, it is mass number minus atomic number. So talagang advisable na kabisado ba ang periodic table? Yes and no, right? I don't want to use the term na kabisado because when you memorize a periodic table, it defeats the purpose of the periodic table. Now, will you expect a question like this in a college entrance test? Yes, if they gave you a periodic table or if they gave you more information that will allow you to answer this. Right? If I remember correctly, yung iba hindi nagbibigay talaga ng periodic table or they would put like a segment of the periodic table. Right? So, hindi naman kayo hahayaan na to the point na kailangan nyo mag-memorize ng periodic table. Right? So, I wouldn't tell you to memorize it. That being said, if you keep on reviewing and looking at the periodic table, sometimes you wouldn't notice ma-memorize mo siya even if you're not doing it intentionally. Okay? Sige. Move on tayo. Next question, number 4. Right. Number 4. Which of the following has the smallest atomic radius? Again, which of the following has the smallest atomic radius? Na+, Cl-, S2-, Al3+. So this is a question on periodic trends. Right? Periodic table na naman. Pero may trick dyan. Ituturo ko natin in a bit. Okay? D. Okay? B. Labanan ng B or D O may C. Right? There are mostly D's. And the correct answer is indeed letter D. Right? Bakit po letter D? Right? So, first thing we have to realize is that we need to understand what the atom looks like. So, if you try to remember what an atom looks like, right? Meron tayong nucleus, kung nasaan nandun ang mga protons at neutrons. At meron tayong mga electrons na pinapaligiran yung ating nucleus. At yun yung key na kailangan natin tandaan dito, na merong mga electrons na pumapaligid sa nucleus. Now, bakit kailangan natin tandaan to? Because electrons, since they're part of the atom, mini-measure yan sa atomic radius. Anong measurement ng atomic radius? It starts from the middle of the nucleus all the way to the very last electron that surrounds that nucleus. Now, what happens pag ang charge ng isang atom ay positive? Naging positive siya kasi nabawasan siya ng electrons. Right? So in the case of Na+, for example, nabawasan siya ng isang electron. In the case of aluminum 3+, nabawasan siya ng 3 electron. Conversely, bakit nagiging negative ang charge ng mga atom? Kasi nadadagdagan sila ng electron. So si Cl- nadagdagan ng isa. Si Cs2- nadagdagan ng 2. So, to find out which are the smaller atomic radii, kailangan tingnan mo sino ba ang nabawasan ng electron. Kasi liliit yan pag nabawasan ng electron. Not only because wala nang pumapaligid, but also, since pag nababawasan ng electron, lumalakas relatively ang charge ng nucleus in comparison. So, ang labanan na lang dyan, A or D. Now, paano mo malaman sino mas maliit? Eh di yung mas nabawasan ng electron. In which case, the answer is Al3+. So, letter D. Right? 3 electron na wala sa kanya, di hamak na mas lumakas relatively ang nucleus. So, mas hinahatak niya na yung mga natitirang electron. So, mas liliit ang atomic radius ng aluminum. Gets po ba? And I see naman na marami nakakuha ng D. So, I think that's a good sign that you understand where the concept is coming from. Good job, everyone. Yan. So, again, pag ang atom ay naging positive ion, liliit yan. Pag ang atom ay naging negative ion, lalaki yan. Good. Alright, next question. Number 5. How many valence electrons does a nitrogen atom have? Again, how many valence electrons does a nitrogen atom have? 3, 5, 7, or 8? Yan, nagbibilang-bilang na mga tao. Ilan po ang valence electrons ng nitrogen? 3, 5, 7, or 8? Meron tayong B, mostly B's. May isang C, may mga A. B. Wala gusto sumagot ng D. Alright? Ang daming B. Ginagaya nyo lang yata yung mga comment ng iba eh. Sorry. Alright, the answer is indeed B. Alright? We go back to the definition of valence electrons. Pag sinabi natin valence electrons, it just means the electrons on the outermost layer of your atom. Yung pinaka nasa labas. Alright? Now, nitrogen, alright? If I remember correctly, nitrogen has atomic number. Nitrogen's atomic number is 7. Right? Which means that by default, it has 7 electrons. Kung neutral atom yan. Right? Now, yung 5 lang ang valence electrons kasi yung first 2 electrons ay part ng ating 1s2 orbital, which is the innermost layer. At yung natitirang 5 ay nandun sa ating second layer, which is 2s2 and 2p, well, in this case, 3. Right? So, yung dalawang electrons dun sa 2s orbital at yung tatlong natitirang electrons sa ating 2p orbital, sila na yun nasa pinaka-labas na layer. And therefore, they are the valence electrons. Kaya, 5. Right? Kala ko may sasagot ng ng 8. Hindi pa rin 8 kasi sobra na yun. Right? But some of the students I've asked this question to, sometimes they would say 7 kasi they would think na it's all the electrons. No, it's just the outermost electrons. Right? So the answer is B. Right? And I see na marami nakakuha ng B. Yan. It's a good sign. Good. Right? Next. Question number 6. And for question number 6, I think it would be useful if you have scratch paper with you. Bakit? Because it is a balancing question, right? So what is the coefficient of O2 when the following reaction is balanced? Right? So balancing na po to. C3H8 plus O2 turning into CO2 plus H2O. Ay, yung answer na. Joke lang. Nako, napindot ka ng doble pala. Ayan, so 5 pala yung sagot. Joke lang. O sige, ganito na lang. Bakit 5? Right? So, ang gagawin na lang natin is, sa comments ilagay nyo, ano yung coefficient ng lahat ng mga species dyan. So, alam na natin na 5 yung O2. Pero, ano yung CO2 at ano yung H2O? Right? So, ano yung CO2 at ano yung H2O? Para malaman natin kung naiintindihan nyo bakit 5. Right? Siyempre, mali ko naman yan. I understand that. Kung quiz natin to sa school ko, bonus na yan. Siyempre, binigay kayo sagot eh. Pero I still want you to try and practice how to balance this. So, bakit 5? Right? So, ano yung CO2? Ano yung coefficient ng CO2 at ano yung coefficient ni H2O? And ano na rin ang coefficient ni C3H8? Right? So, 3 and 4 po. Alin yung 3, alin yung 4? You would better if you would, ayun, may isang nag-comment, si Nathaniel. So, C3H8 plus 5O2 turning into 3CO2 plus 4H2O. Yan. So, yes, that is the correct balance equation. 1, 5, 3, 4. Right? 1, 5, 3, 4. Here's a tip. Right? Whenever you see these kinds of equations, specifically yung merong O2, may CO2, at may H2O, right? These types of equations are what we call combustion reactions. Combustion kasi, ito yung literal, yung nasusunog na reaction, right? For combustion reaction to occur, you need oxygen. At ang products niya ay magiging CO2 and H2O. Na marami nagtatanong, paano po binabalance yan? Paano natin nababalance yan? Whenever you encounter a combustion reaction, my tip is to first balance, right? Either the carbon or the hydrogen. Do not balance your oxygen. Balance it last. Right? Bakit? Mapapansin natin na sa ating left side ng reaction, si O2 ay walang kapartner na other elements. Meaning na pwede siyang mag-adjust. Kaya niya mag-adjust depende sa dami ng oxygen na nandun sa right side. So, ito yung tip natin yan. Kunyari, hindi pa niya alam na 1354 yung, ay 1534 yung sagot. Right? How would you do this? Atake. Una nating i-balance si carbon. Meron kang 3 carbon atom sa kaliwa. Ibig sabihin, kailangan mo ng 3 carbon atom sa kanan. Sino yung compound na merong carbon? Ang merong carbon ay si CO2. So, lalagyan natin ng coefficient na 3 si CO2. That way, we will have 3 carbons on the right side. Now, keep in mind, when you put a coefficient before a compound, nagdi-distribute yan sa lahat ng atoms ng compound na yon. So, yes, naging 3 ang carbon, right, sa right side, pero madidistribute yung 3 na yon dun sa O2. So, 3 times 2, that's 6 oxygens already. Right? Pero, ignore muna natin si oxygen. Next, i-balance natin si hydrogen. Meron kang 8 na hydrogen sa kaliwa. Tapos, sa kanan, meron ka ng H2. O, di ba? So, ilalagay na lang natin na coefficient ay 4. Bakit 4? Kasi 4 times 2 is 8. Madidistribute yung 4 dun sa H2. Alright? Pero again, since naglagay ka ng 4 sa H2O, hindi lang yung number ng H2, ng H ang mababago, pati rin yung number ng O. So yung 4, mamumultiply dun sa isang oxygen. So 4 na yon. Now, here's the reason why last na binabalance si oxygen. Sa right side mo, meron ka ng 3 times 2, 6 na O2. Sorry, 3 times 2, 6 na oxygen mula sa carbon dioxide mo. And 4 times 1, 4 na oxygen sa water mo. So 6 plus 4, that is a total of 10 oxygen atoms, right? 10 oxygen atoms sa right side. At meron kang O2 sa kaliwa. So ano ilalagay mo sa O2 para mag-balance? Lalagay ka ng 5. Para 5 times 2 equals 10. 10, 10 na sa magkabilang side. Gets? Right? So, again, when you put a number, you can only put it before the compound. Common mistake na nakikita ko sa mga estudyante ko, minsan naglalagay sila ng number sa gitna ng CO2. Kunyari, lalagyan nila ng C2O2. Hindi pwede yon, right? Pag naglalagay po tayo ng number, lalagay po natin before the compound. Kasi it signifies that we have to distribute that. Kailangan mong i-multiply yon sa lahat ng atom sa loob. So maglagay ka ng 4, maglagay ka ng 3 doon sa CO2. Kailangan yung 3 na yon, mamumultiply mo doon sa isang carbon atom at doon sa dalawang oxygen atom. Right? Di tayo pwede mag-shortcut dito na lalagyan natin sa gitna para makuha natin yung gusto natin. Right? Doesn't work that way. Right? That's why, ang tip ko is, pag meron kayong combustion reaction, balance the oxygen last. Ihuli nyo si oxygen. Balance nyo muna si carbon, balance nyo si hydrogen. Gets po ba? Right? So again, sorry na doble ko yung pindot dun sa na nawalan kayo ng opportunity to solve it for yourself. Pero I'm glad na may iba na nakita kung paano balance. And I hope na malinaw yung explanation ko on how to balance. And maybe nakakuha kayo ng tip on how to balance more efficiently. Right? Dadandahanin ko yung pindot para hindi ko madoble. Right? Question number 7. Yan, isa lang. Alright. Next. A gas sample occupies 5 liters at 300 Kelvin. What will its volume be at 450 Kelvin, assuming constant pressure? Right? So again, gas sample occupies 5 liters at 300 Kelvin. What will its volume be at 450 Kelvin, assuming constant pressure? Yes, tama. Mga laws ito, mga batas. Gas laws. Right? So ano po ang tamang sagot? Meron tayong mga C. Mga C. Marami nagsasabi ng C. Walang gustong kumontra. Walang A. Walang may gusto ng A, B, or D. Right? The answer is indeed C. Right? C. For Charles' law. Yes, correct. This is actually an example of Charles's law, right? So, isayin natin, ano ba yung mga gas laws natin? Right? B. Tuloy. Right? First, we have your B. Kaya ako naisip na B kasi Boyle's law. First law, Boyle's law, ang relationship niya ay pressure and volume. Sabi ni Boyle's law, pag tumaas ang pressure, bababa ang volume. And vice versa. Pag bumaba ang pressure, tataas ang volume. Next, si Charles's law, right? Ang relationship niya ay volume and temperature. At ang sabi daw, pag tumaas ang temperature, tataas ang volume. Pag bumaba ang temperature, bababa ang volume. Right? Next, meron din tayong Avogadro's law. Si Avogadro naman, ang sabi niya, pag tumaas ang number of moles, tumataas ang volume. Right? Pag bumaba ang number of moles, bumababa ang volume. And then, nako-combine yung mga laws na yon into what we call our ideal gas law. Right? Which is yung paborito kong PV equals nRT. Right? Sa PV equals nRT, kailangan nyo lang tandaan, pag nasa same side sila, kontrahan yan. So, di ba, PV equals nRT. Yung P and V, nasa same side sila, kontrahan yan. Pag tumaas ang isa, bababa dapat ang isa. Right? Kapag nasa opposite side sila ng equal sign, pareho yan mag-rise, pareho yan magpo-fall. So, since ang V at T ay nasa opposite sides, you can tell na same sila ng trend. Pag tumaas ang isa, tataas ang isa. Now, for this particular question, this is Charles's law. So, ang ating equation ay V1 over T1 is equal to V2 over T2. Or if you don't want to memorize that, you just have to take a look. Yung pressure, ano yung nagbago sa atin? Ang nagbago sa atin ay ang temperature. Tumaas ang temperature. So, dapat tataas din ang volume. Right? Now, yung volume, paano siya tataas? Ang itataas niya ay kung gaano ay tanaas ni temperature. Ano yung itanaas ni temperature? 450 from 300. So 450 divided by 300, that is 1.5. Right? So yung 1.5 na yon, yun ang i-multiply mo sa 5 liters. Right? So 5 times 1.5, that is 7.5. Right? Gets po ba? Kung paano nakuha yung 7.5 liters? Right? So, minsan, kahit di mo memorize yung PVNRT, as long as alam mo yung trends na kapag tumaas ang temperature, tataas ang volume, right? Directly proportional naman sila. So, kung gaano kataas ang tinaas ni temperature, dapat ganun din kataas ang tinaas ni volume. Not by addition, but by multiplication. Yan, gets. Yun. So, PV equals nRT. Yan lang kailangan nyo tandaan dyan. Right? Tapos, pag same side, kontra. Pag opposite sides, same ang taas, same ang baba. Alright? And then next, question number 8. Yan. Which molecule has a polar covalent bond? Again, which molecule has a polar covalent bond? Si O2 ba? Si NaCl? Si H2O? Si MgO? Ito, medyo kailangan nyo i-visualize. Kailangan nyo visualize ano ba yung itsura ng molecule na yan para masabi natin na polar covalent bond. Okay? Nagsasabi ng C. How about yung iba? C. Aba, nagsigayahan na silang lahat. Tiwala ako na talagang alam nyo na C talaga yan. Right? The answer is, right, indeed, letter C. Right? Bakit po? Isa-isahin natin ng mga choices. Meron po tayong O2, NaCl, H2O, and MgO. Dalawa sa kanila, hindi covalent at all. Right? So you have your NaCl and your MgO. Both of them are what we call ionic molecules. Kasi ionic bond sila. Paano natin nalaman na ionic sila? Si Na, metal. Si Cl, non-metal. Oftentimes, kapag metal plus non-metal, ionic ang kinalalabasan yan. Right? MgO din. Magnesium is a metal, oxygen is a non-metal. Oftentimes, ionic yan. So, labanan na lang O2 at H2O. Now, bakit polar si H2O at si O2? Hindi. Si O2, pag nakita natin ang structure niyan, dalawang oxygen yan, right, na double bonded. Ngayon, para natin malaman ang polarity, kailangan makita natin yung ating dipole moment. Ang problema kay O2, since parehong O yan, then kung ano yung dipole moment ng isa, dipole moment din ng isa. Magko-kontra lang yan, magka-cancel yan. So kapag walang net dipole moment, non-polar yan. As compared kay H2O, meron kang dipole moment sa isang OH bond at meron isa pang dipole moment sa OH bond. But if you recall, the shape of H2O is not linear. It is not a straight line. So kahit na parehong bond yan, hindi yan magkokontra. In fact, ano ang shape ni water? Tingnan natin kung for maybe a bonus point kung gustong i-record yan ng Kipap. Ano yung shape ni water? The shape of water. Di ba movie? Ano yung shape ni water molecule? Baka lang may nakakatanda. Right? Wala? Si Ret? Parang walang nakakatanda. Si water po ay bent molecule. Isa siyang bent molecule. Imagine niyo na si O ay nasa gitna at merong dalawang H. Right? Na parang paa ng O. Right? Parang pa-V. Yes, parang pa-V na shape. Right? So since hindi sila directly opposite, right? Magkakaroon ka ng net dipole moment. And therefore, meron kang partial positive and partial negative side. And that makes it a polar molecule. So, covalent na siya, polar pa siya, polar covalent molecule. Kaya po, C, water, ang tamang sagot. Any questions? Clarifications? Ayan. So, I believe, dito muna magkakaroon muna ng quick break yung chemistry. Siguro doon tayo I'd like to pass the floor again to Ali. I think we will be going to bio naman this time. So I'll be right back. Thank you very much again sa mga nanood sa ating sa Facebook page ng Kipap and sa Facebook group. Right? Thank you very much for participating and I'll see you in a bit.
All right. Hello, everyone. Yes. So, hinati natin ang chemistry and biology into 2 parts para sa mga naka-livestream, nanonood ng livestream natin sa Facebook page. Makapanood pa sila ng bio. But again, guys, you have to sign up to be able to have the full access to our live lecture, okay? So, kumusta naman tayo dyan sa mga nakanonood sa Facebook page, sa Facebook group? Master na ba natin ng chem? Parang nakita ko ang daming tamang sagot Parang wala namang nagkakamali ata Yes. Ayan. So, hindi pa again tayo nagtatapos. We'll proceed naman sa ating second subject for tonight. I feel like marami talagang excited dito. Sabi ni Phoebe, bio naman. Yes. Okay. So again, we will transition to biology. But before anything else, it's our honor to introduce to you Prof. Sherwin Escorel. So Prof. Sherwin graduated with a bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Science in Biology at Adamson University. He is currently a candidate for Master of Science in Zoology, minor in Molecular Biology and Biotechnology in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He is a former special research student at the National Research Center for Protozoan Diseases in Obihiro University of Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine at Hokkaido, Japan. Wow! A former college instructor for Adamson University, University of the Philippines, Baguio, and University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Currently a research associate at Virology Laboratory in the Department of Veterinary Clinical Sciences in the College of Veterinary Medicine in UPLB. Yes, bigatin talaga si Prof. Sherwin. Let's give a warm welcome to Prof. Sherwin.
Ayan, first of all, good evening everyone. Can you hear me? Ayan, audible naman. Okay. So, ayan. So, by the way, ayan, thank you for that one, teacher Ali. So, ang task ko for today is to discuss biology. But before that one, mag-set muna tayo ng expectation. So, the same thing kagaya ng kay Sir JM kanina na magsasagot din kayo sa ating chat box and then mamaya i-acknowledge natin or acknowledge ko or titignan ko kung sino yung mga nagsasagot or if ever na may mga questions kayo within each questions. Okay? So, chat na lang dun sa ating group chat. Okay? So, bago tayo mag-start, ayan. So, mag-refresh muna tayo. So, since bio nga ito, okay? So, tatawagin ko kayong mga ka-bio. Okay? So, ayan. So, sagutan lang natin tong question, yung malupiton. So, mga ka-bio, kumusta ang buhay-buhay? Key it in dun sa ating chat box, sa ating group chat. O basta wag lang yung laging sinasabi ni malupiton na letter K. First day ko palang matanggal kagad. Kidding aside. So, ayan. Gamitin natin yung ating Ayan, sabi ng iba good, yung sabi iba ay ha, kabayo. Laro. So, ayan. Okay lang naman. So, hopefully, marami kayong natutunan sa chemistry. Ako din, parang kanina na-refresh yung utak ko sa chemistry. And, ayun din, I think ang reason kung bakit pinagsama ang chemistry at bio kasi normal or technically interconnected naman talaga ang bio at yung chemistry. Mamaya makita nyo kung paano siya magiging interconnected. So may mga specific questions ako regarding that one. So, ayan. So let's proceed na. Okay na? Ayan. Okay, so let's proceed to the first question. So ang first question, which of the following cells do not belong to the group? A. Erythrocytes, B. Eosinophils, C. Neutrophils, D. Hepatocytes. Okay, so ayun pala, you have 30 minutes to answer each question. And then just key it in dun sa ating chat box. Okay, I think time's up. So the correct answer is actually letter D or hepatocytes. So ayun, ang nakita kong first na nagsagot kanina ay si Sai Medalla. So ayan, good job. Half heart. Ayan. Good job. So itanong natin kung alamin natin kung bakit hepatocytes. Okay? So, why letter D? Obviously, ang erythrocytes or ang RBC or ang red blood cells, ang RBC or erythrocytes and then ang leukocytes and then WBC, ang common examples nun is yung eosinophil at yung neutrophil. They're actually related to each other because nakikita sila sa dugo or sa blood. Okay? And then on the other hand, yung letter D, okay, so bakit siya naiiba? Since that is hepatocytes, hepa, di ba kapag sinabi ng doktor or kapag naririnig natin yung hepatitis, yung hepa, okay, meaning nun ay, or it pertains to liver. Cytes meaning cells. Hepa, liver, cyte cells. So therefore, that's liver cell. Okay, so kaya siya yung naiba. Okay? So, ayan. Good job. Ayan. So, ang dami namang sumagot ng letter D. Okay? So, ayan. Take note na liver cells ang hepatocytes. Okay? So, let's proceed to... Yeah, exactly. Tama yung sabi ni Science Rafael. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I mispronounce your name, na magiging color yellow ka kung may sakit ka sa liver. Okay? So, let's proceed with... or what questions do you have? Ayun na, pwede kayong maglagay ng questions. I'll try my best to answer it. Okay, dun sa inyo, dun sa ating group chat. Okay? So, let's proceed to question number 2. So, sa question number 2, kung makita nyo pa, iba-iba ng tingin. Kasi dalawa yung screens ko, monitors ko. So, kaya tine-check ko yung mga answers. Okay. So, question number 2. So, in what stage of cell cycle does the DNA replication occurs? A, G1 phase, B, G2 phase, C, S phase, D, M phase. So, timer starts now. So the correct answer is letter C or S phase. So I'll just mention kung sino yung top 3 na nakakuha ng tamang sagot. The first one is Ryan Ashley. And then the second one is John Charles. And then the third one is Angela. So very good kayo dyan. Okay, so alamin natin kung bakit S phase. Okay? Ayan. 'Di ba, yung letter A is G1 or gap 1. Take note sa gap 1 phase, doon nangyayari yung synthesis ng DNA. Okay, take note, synthesis ng DNA, ha? Synthesis ng DNA. Kasi yung synthesis ng DNA, preparation yon for the S1. Okay? For the S1. For S. Okay? Or yung tinatawag na replication. So, dito nangyari yung DNA replication. Okay? And then yung G2, ito naman yung preparation for mitosis. Okay? Na kung saan dito na-form yung microtubules. Okay? And then dito no form yung microtubules, spindle fibers, which will actually aid during the process of mitosis. Okay? Okay, yeah. So I think that's it. So kung may questions kayo, just key it in dun sa ating chat box below. Ay, magbabasa lang ako ng isang comment, natawa lang kasi ako. So sabi dito, kala ko study of life ang biology, bakit ang hirap? Haha. Actually, ang biology kasi ay alam naman natin na maraming terms, pero isang tip na maibibigay ko sa kanyo, huwag kayong mag-memorize kasi obviously darating yung point na malilimutan niyo yun. So dapat you should understand the concept, okay? You should love the concept, okay? So and then dapat comprehend what's with the concept or kung ano mang for example lang yung Krebs cycle, di ba? Dapat you comprehend, you understand what's with the Krebs cycle. So ganun dapat yung pag-aaral. Okay? Specifically sa field ng biology. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's proceed to question number 3. Ayan. So question number 3. Let me read it first and then kapag sinabi kong go, you may start answering. Okay? So Baby M, Zara, and Laliza conducted an experiment using the roots of corn, or ang kanyang scientific name ay Zea mays. After 4 days, they noticed that the roots grow fast. What do you think is the best inference why the roots grow fast? A, they use a lot of NPK fertilizers o yung tinatawag na nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium fertilizers. B, they use BT corn in their experiment. Letter C, roots of the plants has apical meristems. And letter D, all of the above. Timer starts now. Go, you may start answering. Okay, time's up. So the correct answer is letter C. So roots of the plants has apical meristems. Okay, so i-mention ko lang yung top 3 na nakasagot ng tamang answer. The first one is Enoch, letter C. The second one is Gabriel or Gabriel. And then the third one is Sai. So good job. And also to the rest, I believe most of you answered, okay? Answered letter C. So ito, mention ko, shoutouts lang sa mga nag-comment na sobrang Latina ng mga pangalan. Ayan, sila Baby M. Tsaka kinain po ni Baby M yung coin. Okay, let's proceed. Bakit letter C yung sagot? Okay, so ayan. Dito pala muna tayo. So take note, yung utilization ng NPK fertilizer, actually may alat dapat dyan eh. Ewan ko kung bakit siya nawala. Ayun, di ba? Alat. The utilization of too much NPK fertilizer or fertilizer per se, it may actually affect growth. They have an effect dun sa growth ng plants, specifically sa roots. So obviously, mali na kagad yun. Okay? And then letter B, they use BT corn in their experiment. Okay? So please take note, ayan, according to a specific study, so ayan, factual tayo, hindi dapat tayo sa mga news peddlers. Ayan, kidding aside. But yeah, when you say BT corn, okay, BT corn stands for Bacillus thuringiensis, which is actually a fungi. Okay? Isa siyang fungi. Okay, na nagpuproduce ng toxin, okay, that is actually toxic sa mga insects. Okay? So, yung toxin na yun, obviously, they will ward off insects. Okay? So, obviously, hindi siya BT corn. And then, yung letter C, roots of plants has apical meristems. Okay, so kapag sinabi mong ito yung ginawa ng experiment dito sa LB. Kung makita nyo dito, ayan, yung nandun sa picture sa left side, kung makita nyo, ayan yung root ng Zea mays. Okay, dun sa Zea mays, ayan, makita nyo, dun sa may pinakataas na part, nandyan yung region of elongation. So meaning, dyan yung point na nag-start yung elongation. Okay, kapag mataas or kapag nandun yung point na or region ng elongation, ibig sabihin nun, nandoon yung apical meristems. Kapag nandun yung apical meristems, ibig sabihin may mga parenchyma cells na nandun. Okay? Ang parenchyma cells, ito yung mga cells na ang function nila is for cell division. Okay? So kaya, if you do have an apical meristems, na may parenchyma. So therefore, mataas ang mitotic division sa area na yon or specifically sa roots ng Zea mays. Okay? Clear ba tayo doon? Okay. So ayan, clear ba tayo doon? Okay, I think clear naman since so far wala pa namang questions. Ayan. Okay, so let's proceed to next number. Okay. So, number 4. Ayan, ito, ipaliwanag ko, medyo related siya sa chemistry. So, number 4. Okay, so let me read it first. The Streptococcus mutans is the major cause of tooth decay in humans that destroys numerous minerals in humans' teeth. What specific reason why S mutants can destroy human teeth? Is it letter A, glycolysis, or is it because of glycolysis? B, it is because of the lactic acid fermentation. Letter C, tricarboxylic, or is it because of tricarboxylic acid cycle? Letter D, or is it because the oxidative phosphorylation? Go. Okay, time's up. So, yeah, friendly reminder lang. Hintayin nyo yung signal ko na go bago kayo magsagot dun sa ating comment box. So, ang first one, okay, so let me just mention yung mga first 3 na nakasagot. So, ang una ay si Eugene. And then the second one is U1. And then the third one is Gabriel Pan. Okay? Answer is... Ayan. The correct answer is letter B. Lactic acid fermentation. So, let's try to know bakit lactic acid fermentation. Okay? So, balikan muna natin ang glycolysis. Di ba sa glycolysis, meron kang glucose. And then, ang end product ng glucose, pag pumasok siya ng glycolysis, ay pyruvate. Tama? Okay? So, pyruvate. So, yung pyruvate, kung nakita nyo dun sa... Ayan. So, meron tayong pyruvate. So, ang pyruvate, may dalawa siyang fate. It's either aerobic, it will undergo aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. Okay, assuming ang Streptococcus mutans is an aerobic bacteria, so therefore, it will undergo fermentation or specifically lactic acid fermentation. So, si pyruvate, okay, papasok siya ng fermentation. So, ayan, kung makita nyo, magkakaroon ng reaction hanggang maging, yung pyruvate nyo rather, yung pyruvate nyo mag-undergo ng fermentation and then it will actually result lactic acid or lactate. Okay, so that lactic acid will actually destroy specifically the enamel of the teeth, thus resulting to tooth decay. Kaya nabubulok yung ngipin natin. So, kaya importante na mag-toothbrush araw-araw. Okay ba yan? Okay? So, syempre, ayaw nga naman at the end of the day, yung kung nakita nyo doon sa picture na nasa right side ko, yung bunge, ayaw nyo na mukhang ganun yung ngipin nyo at then pagdating ng araw, di ba? Parang vampira na ata yan. Di ba? So, kidding jokes aside, so, ayun. So, dapat kailangan nating toothbrush araw-araw. Kasi, ayun, ginagamit ng mga anaerobes yung mga glucose na tira-tira dun sa ngipin natin. Okay? And then, by the way, another information lang, yung tricarboxylic acid cycle or citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle. So, pare-parehas lang yung tatlong yan. Tricarboxylic acid cycle, citric acid cycle, and then Krebs cycle. So, pare-parehas lang silang tatlo. So, tricarboxylic acid cycle, kasi each component, okay, dun sa Krebs cycle nyo, ay meron silang tatlong, functional group? Carboxyl group. Diba? Sa organic chem, kung may organic chem na kayo, I think may gen chem 2 ata kayo. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, ayun. So, doon sa organic chem, malalaman nyo doon na meron palang iba't ibang functional group. And one of it is yung carboxyl group. Okay? So, COOH. Okay? And then lastly, in letter D, that's oxidative phosphorylation or yung tinatawag na electron transport chain. Okay? So, ayan. Thank you. Let me just read some of the comments here. So, B, because it involves din some muscles ng human. Yes, actually, the reason why kung bakit tayo nagka-cramps, it's because of the lactic acid fermentation. FYI. Okay, Streptococcus mobilis. Yeah, tama. Exactly, Sai, na ang Streptococcus mutans, ginagamit nila yung sugar as a source of energy. Okay? And then, just to perform lactic acid fermentation. Okay? Or oxidative phosphorylation, or also known as the electron transport chain. Okay, very good, everyone. Good job. Okay? Ayan. Okay. So, mag-proceed na tayo sa number 5. So, number 5, or the 5th question, oxygen is an important component, okay, of photosynthesis. Which specific part of the leaf is responsible for the regulation of the gas exchange? Letter A, stomate. Letter B, guard cells. Letter C, xylem. And then letter D, chloroplast. Go. Okay, time's up. So the correct answer is letter A. So, ayan, i-mention lang natin yung first three. Si John Charles Manalo, the first one. Next is John Patrick, yung second reviewee na sumagot. And then the third one is Enoch. Okay? Sorry. Letter B pala sagot niya. The third one is Gabriel. Okay? So, ayan. So, i-discuss natin bakit siya letter A. Pero doon muna tayo sa letter D. And then letter C, and then letter A and B. Okay? So, I want you to take a look at the picture, lalo dun sa third picture. Okay? So, the third picture, ito yung ginawa namin sa experiment namin dito na kung saan chinek namin yung chloroplast. If you can see, yung mga bilog-bilog na, bilog-bilog na kulay green dun sa third picture, those are actually the chloroplast, which actually, or chloroplast is also known as the, it actually, doon nakalagay yung chlorophyll. Okay, or it stores rather, ayun, that's the correct term. It stores the chlorophyll. Okay? So kaya siya merong green pigment or green appearance, yung chloroplast. And chloroplast is an example of plastid. Please take note of that one, ha? Chloroplast is an example of plastid. Okay? So punta tayo dun sa letter C. Bakit xylem? Okay, kung makikita nyo dun sa first picture, that's ito yung microscopic view, okay, ng roots, okay, na I forgot nung plant na ginamit namin, di ba? Kung makita nyo, parang may nagulat na muka. Ayan, kung lalapit kayo dun sa screen, yung parang may nagulat na muka, yung nakanganga na ganun, nagulat na muka. Ayan, that's actually the transport system of the plants, or yung tinatawag na xylem and then phloem. Okay? So specifically for the xylem, ang function niya is, one of its function rather, is sa water. Transportation ng, exactly, very good, John Charles. Transportation siya ng water. Okay? So punta naman tayo dun sa letter B. Okay? So, punta naman tayo doon sa letter B. Ang letter B ay guard cells. Yan. Kung makikita nyo doon sa second picture, di ba parang may mata doon. May matang ganun. May pagano na mata. Tapos may makapal na cell. Okay? Yung makapal na cell, okay, that is actually guard cell. Ang main function ng guard cell is regulation ng pag-open and close ng stomata. Okay? Or ng stomate. Okay? And then, yung stomata, yung nasa gitna, obviously, the main function of stomata is to regulate the movement of the oxygen inside and then the carbon dioxide outside as the byproduct. Okay? I mean, baliktad pala. The utilization rather of air, or the utilization of the carbon dioxide going inside and then oxygen as its byproduct. Okay? So, ayan. So, clear na tayo doon. Okay. Yeah, tama. Ayan. Tama yung mga pinagsabi nila, mga sagot ng mga core reviews nyo dito na ayan, nalabas-pasok ang CO2, ang oxygen sa stomata for the light dependent. Very good. And so on and so forth. Okay? So let's proceed to the next question. Ayan. So question number 6. Okay, adipose tissue are found all throughout the human body and act as an insulation. So what common macromolecule is found in the adipose tissue? A, amino acid, B, deoxyribonucleic acid, C, carbohydrates, and then letter D, lipids. You have 30 seconds. Go. Okay. Yeah. Time's up. So the correct answer is actually lipids. So let's discuss bakit. Okay. Let's discuss, pero let me just mention yung mga sumagot ng tama. The first three reviewees are Sai, good job. Gabriel, good job. And then Enoch, letter D, good job. And then I believe the rest are actually correct. Okay. Sige. So let's discuss bakit letter D. So letter A, obviously ang amino acid. Okay. Ayun pa pala. Anyway, later na lang. Letter A, amino acid. Okay, amino acid is not a macromolecule, but it is actually a building block of another macromolecule, which is also known as the protein. Okay, so eliminate na kagad siya dun sa 4. So meron na lang 3. So deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, so yung DNA daw, okay, ay ang common macromolecule na nakikita sa adipose tissue. Okay, normally, okay, in an organism, ang DNA ay nakita natin sa, or specifically sa eukaryotic organisms, nakita ang DNA sa nucleus. Okay, while the DNA of the bacteria ay normally nakikita sa nucleoid region. So automatically, hindi na siya kasama kagad. Okay, and then carbohydrates, obviously, sugar, okay, hindi. And then lastly, lipids, okay, or the correct answer rather is lipids. Okay, so adipose tissue, pinaganda lang na term ng taba. Okay, so ayun, the correct answer is actually lipids. Okay, so oops, hold on. Okay, so I think let's proceed to the next question. Ayan, ito yung picture ng adipose tissue sa microscope. Okay, so the next question is Yeah, I agree with Sai na not entirely made up of lipids, but it stores lipids as its main components. Yeah, that's exactly that is actually correct. Okay. Okay, so I believe let's proceed to question number 7. Okay. So last 2 questions before we proceed again sa chem. Break and then chem, I believe. Okay, so for number 7, which of the following, hintayin ng go, which of the following best describes systematics? A, phylogeny, B, nomenclature, C, identification, D, classification. Go. Okay, time's up. Okay, so let's try to answer number 7 or question number 7. So the correct answer is actually phylogeny. Okay, so let me just check. Again, hintayin yung go signal bago kayo mag-type ng answer nyo para ma-mention natin kayo sa scoring point, sa tally ng scores natin. Okay, so The first one is Leugil, correct me if I'm wrong. Then Gabriel Lawrence, Acapulco, yung second one. And then the third one is Sai Medalla. Okay. Sabi ni Aisian ay pass. Okay. So let's try to discuss. And then most of you answered letter D. Okay, letter D, which is classification. So let's try to answer muna. Let's try to start. Let's discuss first bakit hindi siya classification, identification, and nomenclature. And don't be confused with nomenclature. Nomenclature is actually or is also known as naming. Okay, so pare-parehas lang. Okay, so actually, kung natatandaan nyo, di ba, diniscuss sa Gen Bio nyo yung taxonomy and systematics. Okay, ang pagkakapareho ng taxonomy and systematics is that may para silang nag-name ng isang specific na species or species. They also identify species. And then number 3, they also classify species, or taxonomy per se also classifies species. However, the main difference between taxonomy and systematics is phylogeny. Okay, so ano nga ba yung phylogeny? Ayan. So, ayan, kita ba yung slide ko? Ayan. So kung makita nyo dyan sa, ayan, yung kanina yung diniscuss ko yung phylogeny, yung pagkakapareho ng dalawa. Pero ang pagkakaiba sa taxonomy, more sa taxonomy kasi specifically sa Linnaean classification or yung traditional classification, ang ginagamit lang doon yung phenotype or yung morphology, yung physical attributes. Ayun lang normal na ginagamit sa taxonomy. Kindly take note of it, ha? And then kapag systematics, may kasama na doon phylogeny. Or kapag sinabi mong phylogeny, you track the relationship of a particular species, okay? Or you track the relationship of the ancestors going to the descendants, and then descendants going to the ancestors, vice versa. And then when it comes to phylogeny, gumagamit tayo ng specific gene. Okay? So kung nakita nyo dito sa right side, di ba? Kung makita nyo, ito yung oxidative phosphorylation or yung electron transport chain. Di ba? Kung matatandaan nyo sa electron transport chain, yung complex 4 is also known as the COX. Okay? Yung cytochrome oxidase 1. Okay, or COI, or cytochrome oxidase 1. So, yung cytochrome oxidase 1, okay, merong gene na yon. Ang tawag doon ay, obviously, COX or COI gene, okay, which will actually encode for the cytochrome oxidase doon sa electron transport chain. And then that gene can be used para ma-determine natin, okay, yung phylogeny or yung relationship netong species na to another species. Just like what I did here. So ang result, take note, lagi niyong tatandaan na ang result ng systematics ay yung cladogram. Okay? So kung makita niyo dito sa left side sa left side ng screen niyo, ayan yung cladogram. Okay, so nakita niyo na, ito pala ganito pala, si species 1 pala ay connected kay species 2 and so on and so forth. Descendant pala ni species 1 si species 2 and so on and so forth. Okay. So ayan ganyan ang systematics. You actually utilize a specific gene to infer, okay, to create an inference regarding the relationship of the descendants to ancestors going to the descendants or descendants going to its ancestors. Okay? Clear ba tayo doon? Yes, tama. I just want to highlight what Sai mentioned, that the systematics is the evolutionary relationship, or yung tinatawag nga, you track the relationship of the descendants going to the ancestors and vice versa. Okay? Just to correct yung sabi dito na study of DNA or rRNA, not literally study of DNA or rRNA, or in systematics kasi you utilize the DNA and then the rRNA. Okay, on my case, eto sa cladogram, I utilize 18S RNA. Anyway, share ko lang. Pero just to, my point is, sa systematics, okay, meron siyang, you utilize a specific gene. Okay, just to know the evolutionary relationship from descendants to ancestors and vice versa. Okay, so let's proceed. Or what questions do you have? If you do have further questions, just please key it in dyan sa ating chat box. Okay, so let's proceed to the last question, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Last na ba? This is number 8. Okay. Okay, so the question number 8. So Kiko and Bam acquired a 3 prime, and then the reads said AG, AGC, TAG, GCT 5 prime forward sequence read from their Sanger and in vitro experiment of the DNA. What will be the complementary sequence of the forward read? A 3 prime, AUG, UUC, UAA 5 prime, B 3 prime, AUG, ATC, UAA 5 prime. Letter C, 5 prime, TCG, ATC, GCA 3 prime, and then 5 prime, and letter D, 5 prime, AUG, ATC, UAA 3. Okay, go. Okay. Yeah. Time's up. So the correct answer is actually letter C. Okay? So ayan. So let me just mention kung sino yung first 3 nakasagot. The first one is John Patrick Gelig. The second one is Sainz, Raphael, and then the third one is Ruther Danford Kayubet. Good job. And then I believe the rest answered letter C. Okay. So let's discuss bakit siya letter C. Okay. So lagi take note. By the way, may two terms na binanggit dyan, yung Sanger and then in vitro experiment. Yung Sanger, it is an experiment, it is a technology in which you will know kung ano yung specific sequence ng DNA. Okay? Like dito. Ayan, yung picture na yan, kung makita nyo dyan, di ba, may ATCG, ATCG, may mga nucleotides. Ayan yung result ng Sanger experiment. Okay, yung in vitro, if you have heard about PCR, di ba, nung COVID, RT-PCR, something, ayun, type siya ng PCR. Okay? Anyway, share ko lang, going back, take note that one of the universal features of DNA replication is specific base pairing. Kahit mapa-in vitro man siya, okay, or in real life, okay, nasusunod pa din yung specific base pairing. Okay, in which ang partner lagi ni A ay si T at ang partner lagi ni C ay si G. At lagi silang faithful at laging mataas yung fidelity. So faithful sila sa isa't isa kahit anong mangyari. Okay? So, pero if ever there are mismatches, may another mangyayari pa. Pero for this specific question, lagi silang faithful sa isa't isa. So let's try to go back dun sa question. Ang sabi kasi, ang read daw ay A. Okay, so therefore, ang kapartner ng A is letter T. Ang kapartner ng G ay letter C. Ang kapartner ng C is letter G. Ang kapartner ng T is letter A. Ang A ay T, ang G ay C, ang C ay G, ang G ay C, at ang T ay A. Okay, so therefore, the correct answer is letter C. Sir, bakit po yung AUG? Bakit po yung AUG, bakit yung A at A, B at D ay hindi siya, ay mali? Okay? So this is for translation, di ba? Pero we're just referring to, this is actually the result of the replication. Okay, in vitro replication. Okay, so AUG for translation, okay, is the start codon, and then UAA is the stop codon. So that's the reason why it's letter C. Okay, so I believe that's it from my. Never mind that one. I believe that's it from my.
Our part 2 ng discussion natin. So let me call on Teacher JM to continue his chemistry discussion.
Ayan. So, hello ulit. Hello, students. Right? Babalik ako for chemistry. Now, we still have a few questions that we want to get through. No? Pero in the interest of time, kasi alam ko medyo napasarap yata yung discussion namin ni Sir. No? Syempre, we both love, we share a love for teaching talaga. But in the interest of time, we also want to give you enough rest. I don't know kung narinig yun. Sorry, may pusa sa likod na. If we want to give you enough rest, and so I'll be discussing, I think, 3 or 4 more questions na lang din before I turn it over to part 2 ng bio. And then hindi naman to speedrun, pero like we just want to medyo kailangan namin bilisan yung pace na. Alright? So without further ado, we'll go to our next question na, no? Aba? Still works? Yes, still works. Okay. So yes, papansin nyo question 11 bigla. I know na nag-end tayo sa question number 8 last time. So I just picked some of the questions that I feel like are more important to be discussed, or medyo nako-confuse pa yung mga tao, right? So anyway, next question, right? Which of the following is 1-butene? 1, 2, 3, 4. So imbes na A, B, C, D, right? Which of the following is 1-butene? Is it compound number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4? Right? Butene. 1-butene. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Ayan. Right? Sa mga nandito pa sa ating comment section, puro mga 2, there's a 3, there's a 2, there's 2, 2. Alright. So, ang ating tamang sagot, right, ay compound number 3. Right? Compound number 3. Right? Siguro medyo na-confuse yung ibang tao na ang numbering ay from top down. So baka kaya sinagot ng iba ay number 2 when in fact the compound they're probably referring to is number 3. Right? So bakit number 3? Remember, let's analyze the name 1-butene. Right? But means 4. So lahat naman yan 4 carbon atoms, right? So lahat naman yan but ang magiging stem ng pangalan. Pero, right, we go to the next part of the name, ine, Y-N-E, right? Ine stands for alkynes, right? So alkynes are your hydrocarbons that have triple bonds. So magkakatalo na lang yan between number 3 and number 4, right? So si number 3 and number 4, meron siyang triple bonds, right? Si 1 and 2, double bonds lang yan. So they're not alkynes, they are alkenes, right? So between 3 and 4, sino si 1-butene? Now that 1 refers to the carbon na kinabibilangan nung triple bond, right? So yung first carbon kung saan nagsisimula yung triple bond. So between 3 and 4, na kanino ang triple bond na nakakabit sa carbon number 1? Na kay number 3. Right? So, ang pinaka-clue, yes, indeed, yung ine na given. So, the ine tells you it's a triple bonded hydrocarbon. But refers to 4 carbons, pero all of them are 4 carbons anyway. So, now, just the positioning. So, kung si compound number 3 ay 1-butene, si compound number 4 ay 2-butene. Kasi nagsisimula sa carbon number 2. Right? So sa mga na-confuse, I understand that you were trying to answer the one in the upper right corner, but siguro tip na lang din for college entrance exams, always check your choices, right? So double check your answers, right? Kahit na alam niyo na yung tamang sagot, make sure that you are writing the correct or shading the correct answer. Right? Yes po? Any questions? Right. Next. Question number 12. Kahit na pang 10 question lang to. Which of the following half reactions represents an oxidation process? Again, which of the following half reactions represents an oxidation process? A, F3 plus electron turning Fe2 plus. B, 2H plus 2E minus turning into H2. C, zinc turning into zinc 2 plus 2 electrons. Or D, oxygen plus 4 electrons plus 4 H pluses turning into 2 H2O. Pakibasa ng maigi. Oxidation process. Sino sa kanila? Okay. Maraming C. Baka nagkokopyahan na ulit ng C. Char. Right? Right? So yes, the correct answer is indeed letter C. Right? So tandaan natin, ano po ang nangyayari sa oxidation? Pag sinabi nating oxidation, ang nangyayari po dito ay nagkakaroon ng loss of electrons. Nababawasan ng electron ang ating species. As compared to reduction, nakabaliktaran niya, reduction is gaining of electrons. And indeed, yes, tama Phoebe, A, B, and D are reduction half reactions. Right? Na bakit natin tawag na half reactions ang mga ito? Kasi sila ay 1/2 ng ating mga redox reaction. Kung merong isang species na nababawasan ng electron, dapat may kalalagyan na electron, may kalalagyan yung electron na yon. Hence, merong isa na mag-gain ng electrons. Kaya ang redox, kailangan partner-partner din yan. Right? So, in case na magkalimutan tayo, paano nyo matatandaan na ang oxidation ay loss of electrons, tapos ang reduction ay gain of electrons? Ang lagi kong ginagamit na mnemonic, at alam kong malamang marami sa inyo, alam nyo na rin to, Leora-Geroa. Leora, L-E-O-R-A. Geroa, G-E-R-O-A. Leora. Yeah. So, Leora, L-E-O-R-A. Geroa, G-E-R-O-A. Right? Leora, meaning loss of electrons, is oxidation. At ang nag-oxidize ay tinatawag nating reduction agent. Geroa, gain of electrons is reduction. At ang nag-reduce ay tinatawag nating oxidizing agent. And so, mnemonic yan in case na hindi nyo pa narinig. Right? Yung iba, ang ginagamit nila, oil rig. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. Right? So, kanya-kanyang trip yan kung anong gusto nyo gamitin. Right? Next question. Question number 14. What is the electron geometry of NH3? Again, what is the electron geometry of NH3? Is it A, trigonal planar, B, trigonal pyramidal, C, tetrahedral, or D, linear? Electron geometry ni NH3. Right? May mga C, may mga B. Interesting. C. Puro C nagkokopya. Puro C na lang ba yung mga sagot ko? Puro C. Right? The correct answer is indeed letter C. Akala ko may magogoyo ako dito. Parang most of you got C. Yes. The key word here is electron geometry. Right? Meaning, we are referring to the molecular shape based on your electron groups. Let's compare that with what we call molecular geometry. Molecular geometry naman, ito yung shape na na-form based sa atoms mo, sa elements mo. Right? Based on NH3, if we will draw that, you can imagine na meron kang nitrogen, tapos meron kang tatlong hydrogen na nakakabit sa nitrogen na yun in such a way na mukha siyang tripod. So, based on molecular geometry, right, ang kanyang sagot ay trigonal pyramidal. Now, bakit po naka-tripod ang NH3? The main reason for that is because dun sa taas ng nitrogen, meron po diyang electron group. May lone pair ng electrons na nagkakos ng repulsion force. Tinutulak niya away yung tatlong hydrogen na yon. Right? So, kaya tinutulak niya yung tatlong yon kasi ang mga electrons natin, meron niyang repulsion force. Gusto niya mapalayo sa iba pang mga atoms as much as possible. So, kung electron geometry ang tanong, kailangan niya to treat the molecule as if the lone pair is another group. At kapag yung apat na yon ang kinoconsider na natin, it looks like a tetrahedral shape. So, the answer is C. Right? So, yung molecular geometry ng NH3 ay trigonal pyramidal, but the electron geometry is tetrahedral. Right? So, I'm actually impressed na most of you got C, right? It means that you guys understand the difference between electron geometry and molecular geometry. Right? Very good. And, right, any questions? Ano naman, no? Right, good. And then, our last question for Chem for tonight, right? Which phase change is endothermic? Right? Which phase change is endothermic? Freezing, condensation, deposition, or vaporization? Pagka-thermochemistry dito, no? D, D, a lot of D's. Okay. So, karamihan sa inyo sinasabi na vaporization is endothermic. Tingnan nga natin. The answer is indeed dog. Right? Vaporization. Right? Keep in mind, sabi natin endothermic, the energy or the heat rather is being absorbed from the surrounding to the system. Kung ang titreat natin ay yung matter na nag-undergo ng phase change as the system, pag nag-absorb siya ng heat, that is endothermic. Ang alam natin dito sa apat na to, isa lang ang nag-absorb ng heat, yung vaporization. Bakit? Paano magbe-vaporize or paano mag-evaporate ang ating matter? Kailangan mong mag-introduce ng init. Yung introduction ng init, saan manggagaling? Sa surrounding. So mula sa surrounding, yung heat mo pupunta sa system. Right? So that means that vaporization is endothermic. As compared to A, B, and C, wherein you have freezing, condensation, and deposition, all three phase changes involve the release of heat. Kailangan pakawalan yung heat palabas to the surroundings. Pag meron kang tubig, tinanggalan mo yan ng heat, lumalamig, nagiging freezing. Pag meron kang gas, tinanggalan mo ng heat, lumalamig, nagko-condense. Right? And then kapag ang deposition abang gas, tinanggalan mo palalo ng heat, nagiging solid. Right? That's why A, B, and C are your exothermic phase changes. And then your vaporization, and then the two others na wala dito, you have your melting and your sublimation. Those are also endothermic processes. Alright? So, dyan muna nagtatapos ang ating chemistry sets review. If you want to learn more, I highly suggest talaga that you enroll in KEPAP's college entrance exam review group, right? Sobrang daming resources niyan. I know some of the other instructors who are teaching the other subjects very very good in their respective fields. And actually ako rin yung nandun sa mga chem modules, no? So if you want to hear more of me, I don't know why, but if you do, please do enroll in KEPAP's review program. So thank you very much, and I would turn you over to Sir Sherwin.
Okay. So ayan, mag-proceed na tayo kagad sa I only have 3 questions left. So mag-proceed na tayo sa first question. Okay, so question number 1. Which of the following does not belong to the group? A. Mushroom coral. B. Sponges. C. Zooxanthellae. And then D. Planaria. Go. Key in your answer dun sa ating comment box. Okay, time's up. So, i-mention ko lang yung top 3. So, the correct answer is letter C, Zooxanthellae. So, the first one who got the correct answer is Angel. Good job. The second one is Rutherford. Zooxanthellae. Good job. And then the third one is Phoebe. Okay, so siya yung third one who got the correct answer. So, let's try to know bakit letter C. Okay, so I want you to take a look at the pictures. Okay, so yung first picture, that is a mushroom coral. And take note, corals are actually animals. Okay, so part sila ng phylum Cnidaria. Okay, kapamilya nila yung mga jellyfish. Okay, so, okay, and then the next one, this one is a sponge. Okay, and take note, sponge is a representative animal of phylum Porifera, or yung mga pore-bearing animals. Okay, so they're actually the simplest animals. This one, okay, ito is bat sponge yung kanyang pangalan, or yung kanyang common name. And then letter D is actually Planaria. Okay, Planaria is actually a representative animal of phylum Platyhelminthes, or yung mga flatworms, specifically class Turbellaria. Okay, ito pala itong mushroom coral class Anthozoa. Ito ay class Demospongiae. Okay? And then letter C, bakit Zooxanthellae? Take note that Zooxanthellae is a microalgae. Kapamilya niya yung mga dinoflagellates, yung mga diatoms, and so on and so forth. Okay? And then they do have symbiotic relationship with the corals. Okay, kaya 'di ba kung makita niyo sa Nat Geo, yung mga corals ang gaganda ng kulay. It's because of the presence of the Zooxanthellae. Okay, so kaya sila iba-iba yung kulay. Okay? So yan. So let's proceed to the next, or what questions do you have pala before we proceed with that one? None? Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, next question. Ayan, thank you, Gets. Ayan, yung mga sabi sa comments. So, let's proceed to the second question. Ayan, ang sabi dito, Fakery and Purds are well-known medical laboratory scientists. They were tasked to type in a Word document the species of Apicomplexan they isolated from their failed sampling. Which among the choices is the correct way in writing the species? Okay, so letter A, Plasmodium falciparum, yung letter P, small, and then yung F, wait for my signal, go, and then yung letter F ay capital. Dito sa letter B, yung P may period, and then falciparum, ito ay Yung species name ay naka-underline and then yung letter D ay naka-italics. Go! Yes, I believe all of you answered letter D, but the first one who answered letter D after my go is actually, ayun, si John Charles Manalo, letter D, very good. Jackie Basco, letter D, very good. And lastly, Angela Tendido, letter D, very good. Okay? Sir, pwede na, baka may magtanong later on sa comment section. Sir, let's discuss why, by the way. Let's proceed to the next slide. Ayan. So, take note the species name, laging may S yun na, species. Okay, the species name or the scientific name is composed of two parts. So the first one or the first word is also known as the genus. Okay, and then the second word is also known as the specific epithet. Okay, and then take note, okay, with respect to several international code of nomenclatures convention, take note kapag typewritten, dapat naka-italicize siya. Okay? So for example, this one, Plasmodium falciparum, dapat naka-italicize siya. Pero kapag handwritten, dapat naka-underline siya. Okay? So, and then also take note na yung genus, okay, yung first word, yung genus ay dapat capital letter. And then yung specific epithet, yung second word or yung second name, okay, ay dapat naka-small letter. And then, ayun nga. If it is typewritten, dapat naka-italics. Okay, and then if it is handwritten, dapat naka-underline. Okay, so take note of that one. Okay, and that is actually based on the international code of, there are actually a lot of international code for zoological nomenclature. Meron sa botany, meron sa viruses, bacteria, and so on and so forth. And they follow the same code. Okay? So, ayan, kagaya na sinabi ni John Charles Manalo, kapag may underline po ay through handwriting. Very good. And if it is typewritten, italicize. Okay, very good. So, let's proceed to my last question. Okay. So, the last question, wait for my signal ha, yung go. Okay. So the last question, what specific muscle? Sa anatomy and physiology naman tayo. What specific muscle is located mid-ventrally and inferior to pectoralis major? A. Orbicularis oris. B. Rectus abdominis. C. Linea alba. And then letter D. Sartorius. Go. Okay, time's up. So the correct answer is letter B, rectus abdominis. The top three who got the correct answer, the first three rather, who got the correct answer are, ayan, si Gabriel Pan, si Enoch Lacanienta, and then lastly, si Sai Medallas. Okay, so the correct answer is letter B. So let's try to know why. Pero before we proceed with that one, I introduce two terms. The first one is mid-ventrally, and then the second one, three actually. Mid-ventrally inferior, and then pectoralis major. Okay? So, ayan. So, let's use Harry Roque as our example for the anatomical positions. Okay? So, former spokesperson Harry Roque. Okay? So, take note, ang laging kapartner ni ventral ay si dorsal. Okay? So, take note na si ventral, okay, si ventral, lagi niyong tatandaan para mas mabilis niyong matandaan. Ventral, di ba, sounds like belly. So, this is your ventral side. Okay? So, ventral, yung harap. And then if it is dorsal, ano ba yung last letter ng dorsal? The last letter for dorsal is letter L. So meaning that's likod. Ventral, belly, dorsal, likod. Okay? So we're actually referring to the ventral part and mid sa gitna. Okay? And then the second one, inferior. Take note sa anatomy and physiology na merong kapag magsasabi ka ng isang anatomical position like this one, inferior posterior, that meron kang point of origin. Ano bang point of origin mo? Ang sabi dito ay pectoralis major. Inferior daw siya sa pectoralis major. So kung ito ang pectoralis major, inferior, nasa baba. Okay? Nasa baba ng pectoralis major. So kung titingnan natin yung picture sa right side, di ba? Ang nasa baba ng pectoralis major ay yung rectus abdominis. Okay? So kaya ang correct answer ay rectus abdominis. And then FYI lang, bago tapusin ang part ko. FYI, kung 'di ba kung nagji-gym kayo or kung sino man diyan nagji-gym, comment na lang kayo diyan. Ayan, comment na lang kayo diyan sa ating chat box or sa ating chat box, comment box, whatsoever. 'Di ba? Kung maririnig nyo pecs, 'di ba? Pecs. It actually refers to the pectoralis part, okay, or the pectoral region, okay, or yung pectoral muscles. Okay, so kung maririnig nyo, uy, ang laki ng pecs, no? 'Di ba? Doon sa mga nag-gym, it actually refers to pectoralis or the muscles in the pectoral region. Okay? And then kung maririnig nyo, 'di ba, rectus abdominis. If you've heard abs, 'di ba? Galing yun dun sa abdominis, abs, 'di ba? Inalis lang yung domini. Ayun. So kaya naging abs. 'Di ba? And then kung may maririnig din kayong glutes, it refers to the gluteal region or gluteal muscles. That includes the gluteus maximus, minimus, medius. Yeah, yung tatlo. So bakit hindi letter A? Obviously, orbicularis oris, orbicularis paikot, orbit, right? Oris meaning dito sa mouth. So that is actually the muscle that surround the mouth. Okay? Linea alba. Yung linea alba, it is actually, hindi siya muscle, it is a connective tissue that separates the rectus abdominis. Okay, and then sartorius, makita naman siya dito sa may thigh area. Or sartorius is also known as the the sartorius is also known as the longest muscle. Okay? So, ayun, I believe that's it from me. I hope that you have learned. And then if you, just like what Sir JM said, na if you want to learn more, marami pa kaming gustong sabihin kaso limited lang ang oras. So, try to apply try to apply dito sa ating review center. Okay? So, I believe that's it for me. Hoping that you have learned. Thank you and good night.